Hello, Jess Nation. If you're listening to this, it means you're late to the party. What the hell happened? Where were you? Why weren't you listening to this last night when it went live at 8 p.m.? That being said, this is a different recording than the original intro I recorded for this episode, strictly because shortly after posting the episode, which I was late on, I got contacted by Soulbro number 3, who is the guest of this episode, obviously, that the movie he made, Taste Closed, the feature dub on his YouTube channel, it got blocked by a copyright claim. So it's not out yet, so to speak. It's not freely available for you to watch, which I definitely recommend you seek it out because it is, it's quite an accomplishment from my perspective. I don't know if you know what a dub is or if you appreciate the arts of doing dubs, but from my perspective, they're a very difficult thing to accomplish. To take take a cartoon episode and rework it into a whole new story with whole new characters, recording different voices from friends and peers alike in order to, create what looks like the original intention of the art, I think is very impressive. But it's not free anymore on YouTube currently. I don't know. Maybe go search up YouTube right now. Maybe the copyright claim has already been taken down. But if you are having any trouble finding it and you really want to check it out and you don't mind supporting your artists, which I totally recommend doing, you can go on patreon.com/soulbrono3. That's SOULBRONO3. Patreon.com/ If that's confusing for you, I'm sorry. I'm not going to say it one more time, but you should be able to figure it out. Just search for Soulbro number 3 Patreon. For $8, you get access to the video and a bunch of other extra content that he has on his Patreon. If you're not on Patreon, man, seriously, what are you doing? Do you really just watch people's content and take it for yourself? Do you really just enjoy? Is that your attitude about entertainment? That it's a free market, but the free means you get to watch everything whenever you feel like it without any repercussions? Is that what you're doing? Because it's honestly not, it's not cool. This isn't 1998, okay? Napster lost. We need to start paying people for you don't even have to pay that much. It's $8, which, think about that. For the amount of time and effort you put into the work, you couldn't afford, that's half the price of a modern movie ticket. And I will bet you $8 that this content is more enjoyable than whatever movie you saw in the cinemas last week. What, Joker? You saw Joker? Okay, Joker's a solid film, but it's not as original as this content, even though this content is literally somebody redubbing someone else's content. Anyway, my point is, enjoy this episode. I'm actually really proud of this interview in the sense that it's my first time doing a satellite interview with a YouTuber who I'm a big fan of. So unusual territory for me. A little bit screwed up by the fact that I decided to purchase a brand new interface that day that I did not like nor keep after the interview. But that said, we're touching new ground here. And if you listen this far already in the intro, I'm sorry I've gone over the 3-minute mark, but we had to re-record this because I want to make sure that Soulbro is getting the respect he deserves. So without further ado, back to the episode. Or not even back, let's start the episode. Just Erickson with SBN3. I guess I'll just start by telling you I'm a big fan of what you've been doing. I think it's been 7 years, right?
Thanks. More like 6, but yeah. Who's counting?
Yeah, well, I guess that's my first question because I've been following a lot of YouTubers, and you're one of the few that I don't feel like I get a lot of idea of what your whole story is. Some YouTubers you get a very good idea of what their whole background is, what their whole personality is, but you're a little bit more mysterious in that sense. You've got great videos and you've got a lot of great dubs and stuff like that, but I don't really know what your story is, where you started and what your overall interest is as like a YouTuber, like what you're headed towards and stuff like that. Does that make any sense?
No, that makes sense. Yeah, no, I gotta make an intro video on my channel or something because I was around back when it was like old school YouTube, back when there was no like channel trailers and it wasn't really a business. All it really was, it wasn't guys saying, "Hey guys," it was just like guys uploading videos, and so I wanted to keep that spirit. My main thing was when I was 18, I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker. And so, but essentially, you don't just like run off to a job interview and then get a job and then start on a film set. There's a lot of education and knowledge that leads up to that. So I saw YouTube as an opportunity to see if I had what it took to entertain people. And so in producing your own videos, what you're able to do is, you learn all the different stuffs. So the dubs that you mentioned, that was integral in learning audio. That's how I was able to learn, or just get tons and tons of practice in doing, in screenwriting and joke writing and all that different stuff. Voice directing, oh my God, just managing other people in general. And so, so when I first started, really, really trying with YouTube, 2013, I was uploading 2, dubs or skits or whatever a week. And
right.
And so that was working 105 hours a week, just to get it out. Because I'm a teenager, I have no responsibilities, I don't need to show up to a job, and I'm just a kid, and so I'm just doing all that because the goal from day one was trying to make it in some form of traditional entertainment. Not being, Mr. YouTube star personality. That's why I don't do a whole lot of vlogs. I don't do a lot of any of that. I'll talk to these, network people and they'll be like, oh, well, maybe you should make a video introducing yourself and, maybe be a little friendly with the fans. I'm like, fuck them. I'm making content here, so, but no, I appreciate everyone, but go ahead.
Yeah, I like that about your style, though, is it seems like you're very much driven to the quality of the content and not about pushing a personality or a character, which I always appreciate about your stuff, is that it always seems a matter of here's the thing, if you like it, you like it, if you don't, forget about it. It's not about oh, do you like me? Am I connecting with your fans? Do you like my personality? What's my drama going on behind the scenes? It really is just a matter of when I see a video that came out from you, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a standalone video that pretty much you could take on its own, take it or leave it and enjoy. And I really appreciate that about what you do.
Exactly. Yeah. And from day one, that was the goal. I'm going to put out content. Now I don't upload weekly like I used to, but I am just going to put out content, and every video I have to assume that that's going to be someone's first time watching me and somebody's last time watching me. So
yeah,
it's and so that's how I was able, no bullshit, no, oh hey, here's this niche continuation of part 18 of my drama with some guy. I don't do all that on Twitter. I'll screw around and do a bunch of bullshit, of course, but there's no effort in that. The YouTube was specifically, I just want entertainment, and for years I didn't even decorate what I was doing properly, or I guess present what I was doing properly. Where all I had was an about me that explained what it was on the YouTube. But as far as logos and icons and oh, hey, check out my Twitch and and making a fancy banner and all this stuff. It was just none of that really had a point to me. When I was growing up, I would go to restaurants with my family or this. It's sort of like this in New York, where there's restaurants that have been in business for 100 years. And they still have the same design that they did, 100 years ago, where it's these dingy gray black and white tiles and, these wood panel walls and this really old door and just all this stuff and all this really old stuff. But you go there and the food is great and you're like, oh, that's why it's been in business for 100 years. Where I always put content first. Content is number one above all else.
Do you find that to be a struggle, though? Because I noticed, in this, especially more and more every day, it seems more people are focused on just a matter of, doing... I've worked on a few YouTube channels as well where, the most important thing for them is relevance, about, getting a video out as soon as possible, making sure it's about what everyone's talking about.
Oh, true.
And it definitely works.
Yep.
So and I follow you as best as I can, but my curiosity is, has it been at all a struggle for you to, get more exposure? Do you ever feel a pull towards that, maybe I should be doing what everyone's doing, pushing out a video a week more consistently, even if it's not the best video out there? Do you get into that struggle, or is it more a matter of like you're on your own path and you're comfortable where you're at?
When I first started, I was very, very, very concerned with video timing and what was topical. I was far more concerned with that because when you start a YouTube channel, it's just a game of throwing anything out there and just trying to see what sticks. And then you see what sticks, and then you make sequels or follow-ups to that thing that stuck. So like, when I got, years ago, I had a video comparing the Amazing Spider-Man with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and that got like 2.5 million hits. So I was like, okay, I'll do some more movie reviews. People want this stuff. So then I did a bunch of that. And then, I did I'm trying to think of the first dub I did that kind of blew up. It was, oh my God, it might've been of Yu Yu Hakusho or, one of those. But like, so I do that, and then so at first, I remember like people didn't want it, because I really wanted to do the show. I really wanted to do Yu Yu Hakusho because like I had it all on my hard drive. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll cut it up. And so I put one out. People were like, oh, this is we don't like this. Do something else. And then I was like, no, fuck you. And I just kept. I uploaded 5 more Yu Yu Hakusho things, and then. But the thing is that what matters on YouTube is a consistently updated series. And does relevance or like, an IP being linked to it matter? Yeah. But really just consistency of the content, consistency and, at least some level of quality is what matters. So I put that stuff up. And I had like a whole thing on my Patreon of the behind the scenes making when I first started doing dubs.
Okay.
But what's it called? So I upload those 5 and then I sit on for a while, and then each of them have like 9,000 hits. Before they only had like maybe 2,000. So I'm like, oh, and now everybody's asking for this thing that, earlier this year, everyone told me to stop doing. So it really got to the point where I was like, okay, let's not listen to the fans about anything ever. Like appreciate that they like your content and that they stick around. But I think it was Steve Kerr. It was a Warrior, or yeah, it was some like owner at the Phoenix Suns, and he said that the day that you start listening to the fans in the stands, the next day you'll be sitting in the stands with them.
Yeah. Well, it's also Steve Jobs also was one who said, I think like the customers don't actually know what they want, so you have to like give it to, like, you have to figure it out for them. Like they'll never ask for what they actually need or something like
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. And oh my, yeah, and you really learn that pretty quickly because again, I don't make my main income off YouTube. I make it by like working and video and audio and like producing, or like directing and writing like documentaries or stuff like that. And yeah, no, you really will see that people have no idea what the hell they want at all.
Yeah.
Like I'll be like, they're like, okay, I want a trailer. I'm like, you want a trailer? I thought you wanted an intro. They're like, no, a trailer, and I'm like, hold on. Like, you want this to be at the beginning of your thing, right? He's like, yeah. Like, that's not a trailer. That's an intro. So, it's all this stuff. Oh my God.
Do you get a lot of your the work that you do off of YouTube? Is that stuff like, do you get that work from your YouTube, your work as Solbro, or
sometimes
is it like a separate thing entirely?
So
it's like, it's both.
Yeah, it's both. Sometimes it'll be some connection that's not associated at all with YouTube. Other times, like I've hit people up randomly through Twitter who had no idea who I was, but I was like, hey, I linked so-and-so and so-and-so. And then, that'll link up to, a job. And then, but yeah, a lot of times I'll get approached with jobs. They're like, oh, we want you to do this for a video game. We want you to do this for our short film coming up. We want you to do this for a pitch pilot. And so I've gotten a lot of work just through that content. Just having it up there and showing, especially for animators, because when I do those dubs, I'm doing literally everything but the animation. So animators would see me and they're like, okay, well, I just want to animate. You can do everything else. Okay, let's do something here. So I got a few jobs doing that as well.
Right. And so speaking of the dubs, now you have this is like your first feature length like dub that you're doing basically with Case Closed. Like that's what was the idea behind doing a longer one, and what was this thing you did as a passion project, or are you hoping to actually like turn this into another form of like income or business?
Well, the thing is, the passion projects, in a way, they turn into a form of income. They get your name out there.
Okay.
You know, it's because again, like I was just doing a bunch of like bullshit YouTube videos, but people liked them. You know, and so and people with money like them. That's important. You want a very rich audience. I did Yugi Coin. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh yeah, I did.
And
I liked it a lot.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan. I watched Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid. I was a big fan of Little Karibo's abridged series. So see another dub that was actually a little bit more like, you know, modernly referenced, was pretty fucking cool to watch.
More mature.
I was hoping it was going to longer. Honestly, I was hoping to watch. I was kind of sad when it ended so short quickly. I was hoping you were going to go through the whole entire first season, but you kind of jumped ahead very fast.
Well, no. Well, there's plans for Yugi Coin, we'll say. But because again, the origin of Yugi Coin was like there was a character named Seto Kamyar. And so we had a friend after I made Operation Backpackers, which was the first VHS tape I did, but it wasn't feature length technically.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then he's like, "Wow, that looks like fun. I want to make my own dub." So like this has sort of been my thing, where a lot of people for the weekly videos, they'll show up and just work for free. They'll give a voice for free. They'll, you know, maybe help with some audio editing for free every now and then, you know, a little bit on the audio editing, but the voices are mainly the stuff I'm getting for free. And, you know, there's always that contract, and this is like old school, like YouTube mentality. The contract is, okay, if you come in and show up for me for free, you know, I'll go up and gladly show up for you for free. Like if you need something from me, you know, go ahead and ask. I won't charge you. I won't do anything. And so usually, and it was using that sort of like agreement, that sort of social contract, that I was able to just be able to produce a lot of shit. The drawback is that I slowly was starting to realize I'm the only person I know producing anything.
Yeah, I've been in that same situation. Exactly like that, where you're doing all these projects, you keep bringing people on, being like, okay, I'll rub your back, you rub my back when I need it, but then you realize like no one's asking you to do anything. I get that a lot with the podcast, especially. I brought on so many guests on my podcast, but they're not producing anything, so they don't have a podcast to bring me on.
Yeah.
So just like, okay, well, I guess I've helped you out, but I'm just still kind of here doing my own thing.
Right, yeah. That's absolutely true. Yeah. So when Kamyar was like, oh, hey, I want to make a Yu-Gi-Oh dub, and he did a Yu-Gi-Oh Season 0, which is the one that didn't even come out in America, and so he wanted to do that one. I'm like, okay, cool. So we go out of our way. Again, it takes a village to produce this stuff. I go out of my way. You know, we were like 4 different joke writers. We helped him with his script. I helped him get sound effects. I gave him access to my whole voiceover roster, everything. They all did it for free.
This was just a guy who reached out to you, and you were just helping him.
He was like our friend. Like we had known him for like a couple years.
Okay.
But anyway, so I completely go out of my way for this guy because I'm like, okay, now I can finally help somebody else produce something for once. Right. So he gets all the stuff, he edits all the little audio clips together, and then the second it's time to do sound design, he completely fucking quits.
Oh shit!
And everybody was like, you know, so keep in mind, this was 2016. It still isn't done. And he still keeps this dream alive of, oh, I'm going to get this Yu-Gi-Oh dub. We've said this a million. We have all these hints to this. And this, I very rarely have little inside jokes in my videos. The Kamyar not. No, Go ahead.
I actually searched that up a bunch online when I was trying to figure out who Kamyar was when you were referencing the video. I was like, this has got to be a joke from like an earlier video or something, and I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. I was like, I don't know who this person is, but I can't. I was actually looking for his video because you kept on mentioning it in the the Yu-Gi-Oh video. I was like, I can't find this thing.
Actually,
I was like,
our friend, one of the joke writers, Moss. What was floating around was a rough cut of this guy's Yu-Gi-Oh dub. So what Moss proceeded to do is he just uploaded it unfinished to fuck with him. And I don't know, it's on his channel YouTuberson or some shit. I don't know. I can't even find it. But yeah, so he put it up, and then Kamyar got really mad about that. But anyway, so, you know, it was sort of this like little like pseudo revenge video where I made Yugi Coin, where basically it was just all these things that he had said and done, and all this, we just took all of that, we put it into the character Kaiba, and we just went from there. So it was, and this is sort of getting into the, this is why I mentioned Yugi Coin. We were bringing up all these jokes about Tesla stock being bad and Bitcoin and all this stuff, and the e-commerce investment community, some of those guys were watching the video. And they were like, oh yeah, I love how you just rag on Tesla because they're a fucking terrible company in the stock market and all this shit. And so I was seeing that. I'm like, damn, maybe I should pander to these guys because these guys have money. You know what I mean? You gotta get rich fans because rich fans are gonna fund you. You know?
No, that makes total sense. If there's anything I've learned from this conversation, is definitely to start aiming bigger with my fan base. or at least richer. Like I guess you got to go about it the way the gamer community does, where just like game companies just want to find that one whale who will end up paying for everything they make in their video games.
Yeah, no, it's finding funders and backers. I found a couple, and I'm extremely fortunate. I mean, like I worked for it, but still, I'm fortunate to be like, okay, I want to do this shoot. It's going to cost a few $100s, and I hit a guy up. I'm like, can you cover this? They're like, yeah. So basically, what I'm able to do is I'm able to, maintain the number one rule of filmmaking: never spend your own money.
And you've been doing that pretty well so far.
Okay.
Well, so when it comes to the dubs, then is that like you? I guess my curiosity is that like I'm really fascinated by them. I think they're very well made, but I imagine they take a while to make.
Depends. Okay. Here's the thing: the reason why I make them is because they're free. They're free to make. There's no, and I can have and you get this intellectual property attached with it, so that gets in some more clicks and stuff like that. But essentially, nobody has to show up to a set. Nobody has to do anything. People, I'm like, hey, show up to your, voice acting microphone. Most people just have that in front of their computer, and they'll show up, do a couple lines, and it's all good. And then so I do all the audio, I do, all the editing, everything. I just do that myself. And so for a video like Yugi Coin, that'll take maybe like a week to produce.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nothing.
So like, how do you go about writing the script thing? I've always been fascinated by the way that you you so seamlessly make a story that matches like what's pretty much kind of like that recontextualizes also like scenes that are happening in the show. So how do you figure that out? Do you write the script first and find the scenes to like fill in the blanks, or are you like watching the show, figuring out like what kind of narrative you could spin out of what you're watching?
This is why I use anime so much, and this is why I don't do the DC, because I do Batman Beyond Ill. I don't like to do those as much, and here's why. Is because with anime, there is the lip flaps. They are always animated. They're always stagnant frames, and they're always animated on threes. So you figure out that formula. You figure out, okay, so the mouth is going to move like this. So you copy and paste the frames as much as you want, and you can have an infinite monologue, and it's still going to sync up because you can just Control V, Control V, Control V. On the thing. And so, but how I get the overall plot, I used to just follow the plot of the show, but that was like, a while ago. Now what I do is so with Yugi Coin and also with the Taste Closed, what is it called? Taste Closed Heaven Ain't Hard to Find. That's the title of the thing that's coming out soon. But the, how do I put it? So what I do is I don't go through one episode of like, let's just say Yugi Coin. I don't go through one episode. I will go through the entire season of Battle City, which was season 2, and I will clip out all the parts that were, not playing Yu-Gi-Oh!, that were just like people walking around and talking, because that's the most exploitable. So then once I have that, and I have it all laid out, so then I'll put it in the timeline, and I'll clip out all the parts, and I'll try to sort and organize a story that I could just run with. And so you organize the clips, and then you write out a list of, okay, it's this thing, this plot point, this plot point, this plot point, and then you write the dialogue in between. So that's how I do it.
So with Taste Closed, like, was there anything different in the process? Because that one you did a really good job of like creating a very original story that was very different from like the source material.
I don't know if it was that different.
Well, I mean, I was impressed by the whole like the kidnapping app and that storyline.
Oh, you're talking about the movie. I thought you were talking about the first one.
Oh no, the first one obviously, yeah, that was very similar. I'm talking about the movie,
yeah.
and that's an even longer like amount of time. I imagine I guess my question is, was the process like exponentially longer than making a short video, or was it like just the same business as usual, just maybe like a few more weeks of work?
A little bit of both. This was the freedom, and a couple of people that I test screened it by, they said that it was easily like my best work from the sense of writing. And this is the first time I've ever actually, because again, like I want to write feature films. I don't want to just do shorts for the rest of my life, because nobody buys shorts. Nobody cares about shorts. Name like one short film where you didn't personally know the creator.
Well, I worked in the Shorts HD, so I know a few more short films than most people, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, so, all right, it's okay. All right, so what's it called? But, so I was able to just have it. I was watching a lot of Seinfeld, watching tons and tons of Seinfeld, before Taste closed, before I started getting to work on it. And specifically an episode, and this is a rule throughout all screenwriting, but specifically the marine biologist episode of Seinfeld, where there was like 3 different stories and they all just rounded up together at the end. I'm like, I finally have a runtime where I have the opportunity to do that. So I was able to have so much setup and callback and all this stuff, a big level of it and a big level of world building, an opportunity of that I wasn't afforded previously with just shorter little videos. And I tried it with, there was a series, Other Office, which is a 3-part thing. And so I tried to have a big twist and a big reveal at the end of Other Office 3. And a couple of my friends watched and were like, oh, what are you talking about? What twist? And I was like, well, fuck. The first one came out 2 years ago, so they're not going to remember all the setups that happen, now. Or they're not going to know what the payoffs mean because they forgot all the setups. So with a feature length script, it just happened 45 minutes ago. So I was just very excited to just have that opportunity. That stuff's awesome. And so it's the only true real feature I've ever written, to be honest.
Really? Was there any new obstacles that you had to overcome that were different than when you were doing the shorter form dubs? Making sure when you try to write a twist into a plot, which every, I guess, kind of good script should have, unless it's like a full comedy thing, is you want to make sure that when you want to have a twist hit, you have to do the backtracking process of replugging in the hints and replugging in the things to make people remember the setup, so that way when you actually show the payoff, it hits. And so what's really hard is okay, I want to find a scene where it's 2 characters that aren't the 2 characters that are going to have a hit reveal, just so you can have time spacing. So sometimes that'll compromise what you're doing, where you're putting in scenes that you didn't really even want, but you needed them just to keep the continuity and keep the timing proper within the plot. So it's and none of this has anything to do with the joke writing process, which is the main reason people are going to watch this. Nobody's going to watch this looking for, a dramatic thriller or a horror or anything like that. It's just, well, I don't know. I was actually really impressed with that emotional turn it had at the end. I think you really pulled that off with it was, because it was very jokey up until a point where you figure out what's is going down with his girlfriend. I'm not trying to ruin the plot or anything like that, because I thought it was actually a pretty good little twist at the end.
Thank you.
And I was like, okay, this is actually, I was really impressed. Wow, this is actually kind of definitely making me feel something, as opposed to just being humor all the way to the end.
This is the biggest concern. I wanted it to be a movie, not a long YouTube video.
Yeah, and that's going to be my next question was how did you go about tackling that exactly and making so what I guess what was your thought process going into it of how to make this different from or stand out in a way that makes people be after 20 minutes of watching it to continue to the end? Was there any concern about that?
Well, yeah. The concern is even the great, even great comedy movies that are just known for being funny, there was always some sort of plot or something keeping people around. And so I was test screening this with a couple friends, and I'm like, oh, how'd you feel about that twist? Or how'd you feel? Did you feel, how predictable did you feel it was and all that? And they were all like I was just laughing too much to even pay attention to that. So I mean,
oh really?
Yeah. That's what they said. And I'm like, well, I mean, technically it does the job, but it's but again, these are my guys, these are my people, right? So they're going to be they're going to find everything that I'm writing relatable because they know me. But, I guess it's important to have that underlying plot to make sure if somebody doesn't find it as funny as the next guy, they can still sit through and watch it like a real movie. I think Kick-Ass 2 was a movie I saw where I didn't really find it so much funny, but I was interested in what was happening. That's the most recent example I can come up. I'm sure there's a better one, but...
And with this project, are you hoping to do more long forms like this, or is this more an experiment? Is there an actual objective you're trying to get with the the film and it coming out, and what you want the results to be from it, or are you just making it for another project to have out there?
The objective is well, at the end of the day, it's always going to be another project to get out there, but the objective is I want to be viewed as somebody who can do features. I want to
features as in or I guess my question is, are you trying to move into live action features, or would you be cool continuing to make animated stuff?
Not dubs, like real animated stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I take it. Sure.
Okay.
It's because there's no career, there's no real career building. Like, this will get your name out there, but there's no real career hierarchy. I can't, nobody can take this project and get it signed to a distribution deal.
Right. Are you able to monetize them? Are they able to be monetized?
Hell no. No way. No way. I have never made money through the ad revenue program on YouTube, ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because here's the thing, like I want to use my music, and like I'm sure you've noticed in every dub, like everybody who watches those dubs, they know that like the musical transitions are a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And so, or like the fight scenes or whatever, it all has music, uncleared music. So but like, all these guys are like, oh, I can't use this song because I might lose ad revenue. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to use whatever I want. And so that's how I was able to, I guess, stick out with the style of what I do, is because I'm not afraid of a little ad revenue. Like, when they take the monetization from the video, I'm like, cool, I wasn't making shit anyway. Go for it. Let me keep it up. I just want like this vision to be seen, I guess. I don't know.
No, I definitely think that's what makes your dubs stick out more than most, is they do feel very much like modernized. Like, they have a very kind of like almost, I would say, like a old WB, CW kind of feel to them, in the way that they're like, they feel like outside the fact that they're redubbed anime, they feel like genuine, like stuff I would have saw on a TV show when I was a kid. Well,
yeah, the Osmosis Jones is probably the big, that's the big example we all use when we're talking about those music transitions. And sort of like the concept of putting all the R&B and hip hop, like, while a character is, walking around from place to place. That was absolutely. I'm sure there were other movies, but like, I was really just trying to capture that feeling. That's just number one, and because that's the stuff. And then people are gonna hear those songs 10 years later and then remember the movie they saw it in. Everybody like when you see some song from 20 years ago and you look in the comments, oh, this movie brought me here, this thing brought me here,
Totally.
Yeah.
So I've always noticed your humor, which I think is fucking hilarious. But it also is very, very like, I don't even know what the term is. I don't want to say like politically relevant, but it does have like, I mean, you have a video called, I forget what, about like how to like date when you're an incel or something like that.
Yeah, dating tips,
which was
for
hilarious.
Incels.
Yeah, which is like hilarious. Honestly, it's totally like in line with my humor and like the kind of humor my friends like. But I imagine it's also seen as like, it can create a little bit of a political discourse around your stuff. Does that happen at all with the work that you do? And are you at all afraid of that being like affecting whatever kind of jobs you might pick up from, like, because there's also those kind of references and jokes inside of the Taste Clothes movie. Do you ever get worried about that, like affecting like what picks you up? Is it more a matter of just once again sticking to like what I'm gonna do, what I want to do? And also, does that I have seen you post a few things that people responding to your videos in a little more of a negative, like kind of like triggered light. So does that at all factor into like, I guess, what you're doing here?
I think I mean, like, if you try to assert politics in something or just anything that's like lightly political, make sure it's not like SNL. Make sure it's because SNL is like very blatantly liberal. And then you'll get like, I don't know, Ben Garrison comics or whatever. That's blatantly conservative. And I'd say the trick is just asserting politics in a way where, people aren't really completely sure of your side. And then other times just like touching on things so politically, like, I guess, complex that it just goes over people's heads entirely. And so they're not even going to think about it. That was sort of with the second Yugi coin. Where it was like, I'm talking about like the conscious community and, the denial of black people in ancient Egypt and all this stuff. That's never really talked about in mainstream media at all, because like nobody really cares. So like, fuck, I'll talk about it. Sure, why not? And so I guess that video made a couple people mad, but like, I don't know. It's
Do you do it because it's mostly just like, it's like your sense of humor, or and I'm getting the gist I'm getting from you is it's not this, or is there actually like some sort of like meaningful point you're trying to make about those topics? I
don't know if awareness is the right word. Awareness doesn't do anything. I want to make that very clear. Like with Colin Kaepernick, like who didn't know there was police brutality before he was sitting during the Pledge of Allegiance or the national anthem? You know what I mean? Like,
right. And the conversation didn't even become about that after a while. It wasn't even about that stuff. It was about whether or not you should kneel during the anthem.
Yeah.
So people forgot the point of it as well.
I'd say what's I guess this is what I love about putting concepts like that or even other, less political concepts in the videos is a lot of the kids clicking on this are going to be like, they're going to be just like anime watchers. Like they don't know anything else but anime and video games, and that's it. And so I view it as this fun little time. I'm going to show them a culture they would have never encountered if it wasn't for this video. I'm going to show them opinions and thoughts and ideologies they would have never encountered if it wasn't for this video. Not necessarily political ideologies, but just ideologies and opinions and cultural notions in general that they never would have encountered. And that's the cool thing with Taste Closed is because with so many European guys and so many like people from like Africa and Spain and all over, because Detective Conan was huge in Europe and Asia and not so much big in America. And so a lot of these guys, they're hearing about the concept of Jay Dilla for the first time. They're hearing about the Michigan Fab Five for the first time. They're hearing about, all of these things for the first time. And so they're hearing, the songs X, Y, and Z for the first time, and so I guess that's what it is.
No, I like the fact that also they talk that way because it's as far as I'm concerned, it's just the way that people around me talk. Like a lot of people use references to things that are in modern culture, so it feels more realistic.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. It's like people ask me like, why do you mention so many fast food restaurants? Because that's my fucking life, dude. I eat at fast food restaurants like all the time. Like especially when you live in some like boring ass town. All there is like, oh hey, you want to go hang out at McDonald's? Hey, you want to hang out at Popeyes? Like I'm not just trying to shoehorn this in. Like when I hang out with my friends, they don't ask like, where should I go get dinner at? They're like, where should I get fast food at?
Oh, really?
That's what they ask every time. All my friends are like, we'll talk about Popeye's chicken for like 2 hours. Like it's just like, that's what it is. When I was, oh my God, dude, when I was a kid, I probably ate fast food like every night. It was crazy. Wait, what?
I wasn't allowed as a kid. That was when I turned 18. I had my own car. I was eating fast food all the time. That's when I got to do it. I was like finally like
exactly.
My parents would let me have it. So when I turned 18 to like 25, I was eating like Wendy's twice in a row because I was just so grateful to have that opportunity.
And that's why a lot of like college age people like it because that's all they're eating. So
yeah, I guess that's very relatable.
This is a big one. I was test screening. There was a joke in the Taste Closed feature. The Rachel girl says, she says, "Wow, this fountain's glacier freeze Gatorade." One of the guys is like, "I'm drinking that right now." And so it's people like that. Like when I watch Drake and Josh and they'd say Mocha Cola, that pissed me off. I'm like, just say the brand. It made me so mad. Like it really did. So I have the opportunity to take over here. It's just, I don't know. It's cool when you see the real life things. Like in The Simpsons, they just say the brands, and Family Guy, they just say the brands. Like, why are they able to get away with it? And like Nickelodeon can't.
Well, yeah, I imagine it's a corporate thing as well, but I guess that's kind of the freedom you get by being able to do these things on YouTube and not worry about monetization or trying to like please anybody. Is that you get to really? That's what's really driven me to YouTube like recently. Is that like I'm actually like watching it more than television because on the one hand I'm seeing things that aren't if I want to I'm seeing things that aren't held back by like promoters or like some sort of like production company trying to make a name for themselves. But also you're watching something that's genuinely as closely connected to the artist's vision as possible. Like. When I watch most major like blockbuster movies nowadays, I just see a lot of money on the screen. Like I just see like, okay, that actor made probably $7 million. They probably have got a DP for this. When you watch like a YouTube video, it's way more like, okay, it's like for instance, like your videos, like that's a lot of hard work that someone put into that. That's exactly what they were going for, most likely.
Honestly, well, I mean, thank you for that, but it's. I don't know, like especially with my live action stuff, it comes up way short of what I wanted. Well,
yeah, but at the very least, you weren't held back by somebody telling you can't do that, or we need you to put in this product because they're paying you money for it. Like all of your decisions, like granted, you might have not necessarily hit the mark you were going for, but as far as like what you did was your own choice, right? Exactly. Yeah. But that's all his money, or necessarily like not having like the resources you wanted to. But it's not like when like you watch like for instance, actually, I still think to this day you have one of the actually probably the best critique of Star Wars: The Last Jedi. That I've ever seen. And you reveal halfway through you haven't even seen the movie, but it was such a great point about. I was watching, it was just being like, he's kind of right, but like I don't. He's not really like making any kind of like drastic criticism. When you get to to the reveal, I'm like, oh, that's such a great point. Like a lot of like, it's not really a matter of whether or not people like it or not. They just want to create more and more content. And the best thing you would talk about how like, you know, using a black character is a very like risky marketing decision, but not a risky creative decision. And I realized that now watching movies, like you don't see a lot of risky creative decisions because Hollywood, it's so much money in the line. There's so many people involved. They don't take those chances. But when you watch YouTube, you can do stuff like talk about incels or talk about like, you know, like Kaepernick or any kind of modern relevant like topical subject and not have to worry about what the recourse is because you're not answering to anybody else. And that's what I think I really like about YouTube as a platform.
I mean, yeah, it's good. Touching on the concept of like diversity in front of the camera is, I think they announced, what was it? They announced The Little Mermaid. They would cast a black actress, and I'm just like, okay, that's fine and dandy. Now, how many black people are behind the camera? Oh, none. Okay, all right, just making sure, you know. And so it's like, or you know, the director or the writer, the things people will check. But the actual blue collar jobs in cinema, the grip, the gaffer, you know, the computer animator guy, the I don't know, the production assistants, all that. You know, how many of them were black? How many of them were not white? And so, like one time we were, did you ever see the Beauty and the Beast live action?
I stopped watching the Cinderella one. I couldn't bother putting more money into like the same movie. Oh, actually, I did see Lion King, which was a total mistake as well.
So, well, with Beauty and the Beast, there's a character, and I'm sure it happened in the other ones, but this is the only one that I know, where it's Emma Watson and she's running around, she's having a good old time, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna go to the library, and there's just a black librarian with the 1700s French like wig. Oh, really? And I'm just sitting here like, okay, this is like France. Okay, I'm pretty sure like racism didn't end in France in the 1700s, you know. So I'm like how would this guy be, you know, whatever. They just cram it in, and then there's no other mention of black culture or black people or anything for the rest of that movie. Just that guy. And I deliberately went out of my way because I'm such a fucking spiteful shithead. I went out of my way to look at the full cast and crew on IMDb, and keep in mind, there's like 100 people. I clicked at each one and Googled each one. Not a single black person behind the camera.
Wow.
And so it's just like, it's just such bullshit. Like we fall for this, and it's like, okay, that guy got a job, but there are many other blue collar jobs in cinema where discrimination does happen. But like nobody wants to talk about that, you know, so it's stupid.
Yeah, well, the point I was making was more to the fact of it also, like, and that's a good example of a movie where like a lot of choices were made based off of like audience reaction rather than the story they were trying to tell. And that's like, so I guess that's one of the things I find is like enjoyable about stuff that like creators like you and other people like make, where just like, this is pretty much like what you can stand by it a lot more honestly, being like, I didn't make any kind of concessions outside of like what I was able to do.
Right.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So when's the movie? Do you have a release date that's announced for when the movie's coming out?
Fall 2019.
You don't have an actual date yet?
Here's it's done. It's just the problem is like you got to wait on it for YouTube to clear, and I got to wait on my guy to manufacturing the VHS tapes to get all that stuff in.
You're doing a VHS tape release?
Oh yeah, like with the last one, or I did Operation Backpackers, where the whole thing was there's this. Or did you ever see Operation Backpackers?
I don't think I did see that one actually.
That's because that one never cleared on YouTube, and so I had to put it on Vimeo. So, but we did VHS tapes for that, so we shipped out about 40 VHS tapes, and I have one in the room here. But we put it out on VHS, and we put little special bonus features for the people who bought the VHS at the beginning of the thing.
Oh, that's so dope.
And the what's it called? So it's a 65-minute VHS tape. We're gonna put the feature on there, and we'll put a little bonus feature and some stuff like that. And but yeah, so we put it out because it's just that whole like sort of remix bootlegging sort of culture. We try to keep that alive. And cassettes and VHS and all that. It's having its own little resurgence. So yeah,
you seem to really have a real affinity for like the bootleg and also like underground rap culture as well. Like that seems to be a big part of your at least your aesthetic on YouTube. Is that like a thing you have like a personal connection with?
Personal connection. Define
Like, I don't
personal
know.
connection.
Well, I guess like, what is your history with music? Because you do have very like particular choices of music that you put into your like your work and stuff like that, and you also reference a lot of like underground rappers I'm not familiar with, at least rappers that are not, I would say, as mainstream as
Drake or Jay-Z or
exactly. So like, what is your and also you're very upset with Christina Aguilera. So like, what is your relationship with music exactly?
Well, let's take that in order. Let's break it down here. So the I don't know, but again, Osmosis Jones is sort of that initial muse. So it's all the R&B. It's all
Okay.
the smooth R&B singing and stuff like that. Like I would see that in movies of that era, and that's what I try to encapsulate, that early 2000s animated feature. That's what I always try to do. So then as far as the rap goes, it's it's just the genre I like. But what I started noticing as I would get these comments all the time of like, I'd feature a song for a fight scene, and I'd start getting these comments like, oh, get this like fucking N-word music like out of the video and all this shit. And so I'm like seeing that, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put more in. So because like nobody fucking tells me what to do. So there was that, and so. And then I realized the shit that really pissed people off was like the world star artists. So then, not to say that I just use that music to like spite people. I actually, I like that stuff, but I'm going to tend to use that stuff more to, piss people off. I put a Danielle Bregoli song, or Bad Baby, or whatever she goes by now. I put a Danielle Bregoli song, a remix of Kodak Black's Roll in Peace. I put that in Other Office too. And there were a bunch of people pissed off about that. But I'm like, no, like this music can work for anything. And what I find the most interesting is that people will completely 180 their opinion. Or if this is the first time they encounter Soldier Kid, Kodak Black, Famous Dex, YNW Melly, if this is the first time they encounter this through my video, they're going to like it regardless. And so it's interesting how I can create fan bases for these artists. Or not, I mean, they have their own fan base. They don't need me. But like, right. I can create these little buzzes for these artists through just a cartoon dub. And so it's just, as time went on, I started realizing sort of the cultural control I have over a couple thousand people. And so I like playing with that. I like playing with that a whole lot because, and that also comes with the responsibility of just being, I guess, a social media influencer. The reality is I'll say anything. I could say anything. I could say any political thing. There's going to be 1,000 kids who agree with me regardless of what I'm saying.
What is your relationship like with your fans? Like, do you have a lot of discourse with them, or are you like very kind of separate from, like, you just like kind of make the video and see what they respond? Well,
I do sober radio. And that's sort of like the main play. I haven't done it in a while because I've been working on this fucking thing. But I do sober radio, and like I'll have people call in, and like anytime a fan disagrees with me on Twitter or whatever, I'm like, hey, come hash it out on sober radio. That's what I tell them every time, and they never do.
Really?
They never show up. Ever.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
And
I would imagine at least one person would. Like, somebody would try at least something.
I mean, sometimes guys have had like disagreements with me and they call in, but they weren't like the angry guy on Twitter. They were just like, oh, hey, I felt differently about this. Let's talk about it. And then they don't leave like, they don't leave like, oh, I hate him. They're like, okay, well, we talked about it. And so, but my thing is taking away the platform or taking away the power from the little fucking weird introverted shithead who just like tweets shit from an egg avatar. And so, because when you talk on the microphone, when you come in, oh, you're going to stutter, you're going to say some shit, you're going to say some dumb shit, you're going to get called out for it, and you're going to get roasted hard. So it's really trying to encapsulate that Howard Stern show sort of feel, where if somebody says something stupid, they never live it down. So it's I guess people get intimidated by that. I don't know, maybe.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's way easier just to like write down and like revise like your nasty opinion and post it than have, like you just said, when you're actually having a conversation, you have to stop, think, you stutter, you kind of like lose a little bit of your rhythm. Like, it's a way more intimidating experience.
Oh yeah, no, not a lot of people want to be in a verbal fight with me.
Well, yeah, I mean, your videos make you very intimidating. Like, you're very good with language.
Oh yeah, that's probably not good. No, and what's great is like I don't really. How do I put it? As the accolades come from just working over the course of a few years, it's really great to just, this is my favorite thing now is, so last year, about a year ago, people who were going to media schools or media courses at like 4-year universities, they were saying that my ADR tutorials and my voiceover tutorials, they were getting played in their classes.
That's awesome.
So I was officially cited by universities at the age of like 22. And so I'm just like, you know, so there's all these like fucking pseudo intellectual, like fucking, you know, movie reviewer guys and all these guys who like, you know, live stream and all this shit. And they want to like, they all subscribe to the culture of being intelligent, but it's like, dude, you have no accolades, you know? And so it's like really, like, what do you have to show? Like fucking colleges are using my shit to teach their kids. They pay $100,000, and that's another story. That's sort of an issue. And the thing is that I don't really so much care that my video was used by a university, but I'm gonna make it seem like I do. You know, if somebody tries to, you know, assassinate my character or say that I haven't done anything, I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I've done a lot more than you know. And so, you know, I don't say that to everybody. I say that to the people who are being disrespectful. But
where are you? Or like, what area are you located in?
Around New York City.
And do a lot of people know like you by your like? Do you ever come face to face with people who like know you as Soul Bro?
Like my friends, but
well, yeah, obviously they know. But is there ever like have you ever had an interaction with like a fan who like actually like knew who you were? Because I noticed like you seem to make a huge effort of making sure you don't show your face or like have anything recognizable about you that could like make someone actually like recognize you on the street on your site.
Because I'm not actually famous, so why would I want anyone to recognize me? You know what I mean? Like,
well, there's a lot of YouTubers who always got their face in front of the camera and are like,
yeah, because they want to be famous.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. Would being famous be cool? Yeah, I guess. But like for something legitimate, like working on a TV show or doing a movie, not YouTube. YouTube is like embarrassing fame. That's like dude, like hide your head. You know, so
is that the reason why you don't do videos where it's like you're a talking head to the camera? Because I've always been fascinated by like, and I've noticed myself, like I always tend to like a lot more when it's like just a voice with like pictures and video to accompany what they're saying, as opposed to someone sitting in their bed in like their studio apartment talking to a camera. Is there a particular reason that you don't do that yourself? Because I don't like it personally.
There's a few reasons. One, I got to be behind the camera.
Yeah.
You know, like, so I'll set up lights and I'll move the camera and all that. And so I don't do a lot of self-shot stuff because it usually doesn't come out the best. There's not as much control that I have over it, especially when setting up focus. Goddamn, you know, like I've had to do camera tests where I'm in front of the lens and I have to set everything up. And it's just too damn hard to like make sure that you're staying in focus, you know, when you're on the other end of the camera, because you have to go back, turn it, and then you're too far away, you can't see the monitor, and then the light on the key light's blinding you, and then you can't see all that. So it's like, that's probably the biggest reason I don't do it. But also,
you really are a director at heart. Like you really want to be like behind the camera, like making sure it looks perfect.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like if I knew people who produce things locally, I'd probably appear on camera. I'd probably do stuff. I'd be like, oh, hey, let's crack a few jokes, but nobody fucking makes anything. So I get, you know, so it's these circumstances where I get pigeonholed as this guy who's afraid to be on camera or whatever, and it's like, dude, it's just, there's no point, there's no opportunity. So it's, you know, that's what it is. Also, when it comes to like talking to like random people, I'm not gonna like go on cam, like, you know, or my general rule of thumb is like, if I can see them, then they can see me. But if I'm just like popping up on some live stream for a bunch of faceless psychos to fucking look at me, no, fuck that. I ain't doing that. You know, like I keep the internet shit very old school, very old school. I don't post my fucking phone number. I don't post my address. I don't say, oh hey guys, I live in this city. Come hang out with me. No, it's stupid. Like that's how you get yourself fucked over. Feds are watching. Come on.
What is your biggest your biggest aggravation with like everything that you do like in like the entertainment world today? Like what is the most frustrating thing for you to deal with?
People thinking they don't need to learn lighting and grip.
I've noticed that about your videos. You're very straightforward but adamant about people understanding the basics, especially with lighting.
Well, yeah, because lighting is the most important. The camera doesn't really matter. You know, it matters a little bit. You know, I had to do a shoot, and this might be a bonus feature on the physical Taste Closed tape. Is I was doing a thing where it was a found footage thing off of a DSLR from 2008. And so, because that's when the 5D Mark II came out, it was like September 2008.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing this thing, and I'm looking at like the just amount of compression in this goddamn camera, and I'm like, God, this sucks. I spent all this time lighting, and there's like no dynamic range in the shadows, and there's just nothing, and I can't get this looking good.
Oh,
I'm sure with more money and more lighting, I could, do it better, but it was a little rushed. Anyway, so that's going on. How do I put it? But yeah, so I mean, like, you don't need maybe only like a few $100s on your camera, maybe like 800 at least, something like that. But then, let's say you have an $800 camera and $10,000 of lights versus a guy with a $10,000 camera and $200 of lights. The guy with the $800 camera is going to produce a much better picture.
Right. So are you frustrated by the fact that you're seeing a lot of amateur work out there? Or do you actually deal with a lot of people who are on projects or like just they don't have like their shit together? I'm
frustrated by people who will who will go on and on about their film theory, but they don't know how to expose a fucking shot. I'm sick of that. I'm sick of like, the real, the mise sons and all that, or whatever that fucking French term is, like, you don't need to know that phrase. You don't need to know it. I've probably shot 200 shorts, never once considered that phrase while doing it.
Dude, I know exactly what you're talking about. I edit a lot, and whenever someone brings up a J cut, I'm like, I've never used that term in my entire life. Like, I don't ever talk about things like that.
I don't even know what a J cut is.
It's just when you have audio playing before you see the next scene, or it might be,
okay. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I know what that is. I don't know the name. Yeah.
You do it all the time. I've watched your edits. Like, you do that because it's an editing technique, but you would never talk about it that way. Like, and it just always makes me laugh when people start explaining things like that as if they're some sort of professional.
Yeah, no, it's a big problem, and I catch a lot of heat. Well, I'll get to this. How do I put it? Just lighting is so crucial, and it's so overlooked, and it's like, it's really a dying art. There's a guy in Englewood, New Jersey, who I was buying a lot of grip stuff like from the 70s, or no, it was like stuff made in the 50s, because like he bought it in the 70s.
Okay.
And so I'm buying a bunch of stuff, Mo Richardson lights and silks and screens and like Apple boxes and all the cinematography stuff, C-stands. And at one point, he thought it was like the last time that he would see me. And so this guy's like 60 something. He just starts going through all these little tips and tricks, how to reverse a clothespin to pull scrims out of a hot light. And he's just going through all this stuff. And he's talking about controlling light and the Mo Richardson inkies and all this stuff. And I've already paid them the money, and he's going another 90 minutes about all this shit. And so, and he would always talk about how he was sad that all the lighting is going to RE Sky Panel LEDs, and the traditional techniques are being lost out of this more convenient gear. And it suddenly hits me as I'm driving home from talking to this guy, like, he thinks when he dies that this era of technique is done. He doesn't see. I'll talk to a lot of like guys who've been working since like the 70s, and believe me, like, so I'm 25. I am like the youngest dude trying to do it in cinematography, period.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone younger than me trying to make cinematography happen. So, from the industry, like, correct standpoint, not, oh, dude, I'm a music video shooter, not that bullshit. So anyway, I'll talk to these guys, and they're astounded that somebody, of my age is interested in tungsten lights and 6x butterfly frames and setting up Apple boxes and C-stands and flags and all that, because there's so many people who go in with this idea of, okay, I'm going to shoot with really high dynamic range and then figure it out in post. And and so it's like I'll have a conversation with a guy who worked at RCA in the 70s, can fix any camera in the world. Any camera you give him, he can fix, because he's been doing it for so long. And he's like, oh yeah, I remember the Ikegami HL V59. It came out in 1989. I was like, that was like 5 years before I was born. And he's like, oh yeah, sorry. He's like, a lot for somebody your age. I'm like, okay, But the what's it called? Or no, a lot of them will say like, oh, I'm like younger than their youngest kid and all this stuff. And so. I don't know. I'm baby Jesus, I guess, but fucking. Do
you feel like it is dying, or do you feel like there's still hope for like it to because I from my perspective, it is actually like I don't see a lot.
Yeah, it is
of
dying.
Like, yeah, like
absolutely dying.
I've worked on feature films that you can tell all they used was like the room lighting, and they didn't actually have any lights. They were just hoping the camera would capture it all.
Yeah. It absolutely is dying, and it's because with the tentpole features, the big Star Wars thing. Yeah, it's very much alive. It's still doing fine. It's still doing great. But as far as like, this is what was crazy. Like you could get. This is how the standards are lowering. Is like you could get just some random ass promo tape in like your Burger King Happy Meal, and you pop it in, and there's like a level of production value. There's like a level of like it could be the Cubics preview, or it could be, oh hey, check out these new Pokemon card things coming out, or whatever. And it's just there's a level, like the microphone sounds fine, the camera work and the lighting is legitimate, and all this, and it's a real set. It's all set up. But it's like now you get something on the internet that has millions and millions of hits, and the production value is terrible. There, what is it? I think it's like SB Nation. They do like these stories on the collapses of sports franchises, and it's like all this money is into it, but it's like the mic quality is kind of bad. Like the guy that they have presenting it isn't like his living isn't speaking in front of a microphone. It's just writing, so it sounds a little off. Like the camera work, like the highlights are always looking a little clippy. Like it's just, and so, I mean, they're doing their purpose. Like they're getting the content out and, good on them. But it's like, yeah, no, that traditional era of just making sure that your exposure is set right and that your audio is crisp and all that. And, that's dying. That's absolutely dying.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Do you think that's just a fact? I mean, from my perspective, it's a fact is it's becoming more and more cheaper to like, and we're also, because of the internet, we're becoming more and more accepting of like just crappier video, and people care more about the content than anything else.
Yeah. I would agree. I mean, oh my God. Again, this is what I tell people is like, I'll after a couple years, I'm like, so, by 2016, 17, that's when I started talking to like real cinematographers. So I was able to hear every camera model and all this stuff. There's camera brands people don't know unless they're actually in cinematography. Like Ari.
Well, really? Well, I guess that makes sense. Maybe, well, I don't know. I'm surprised.
They know
actually.
Red. They know Red because Red ties in with Apple. They got the promotional deal. Right,
and also Red's like that's like the digital camera, so everyone knows that one because it's like the premier brand that everyone thinks they need to buy for their. God, the amount of people I see who like they'll be in LA, they'll be taping like on audition tape on a Red. I'm like, that's insane. I don't know why you're spending all that money on just 5 minutes of a tape that's never going to be seen by anybody but a cast director.
Yeah, no, this is the most annoying thing about the Red shooter is that they walk in with their little Red Raven and their glide cam vest and no lights.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly. Like they just think that the camera does everything.
Yeah, no, it's that's just that internet era, and so they charge really cheap rates because they're not actually working that hard because the lighting is the majority of the hard work on a cinema set.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people don't realize that anymore because they don't need to do it, so they don't bother.
Yeah, so essentially, so you got these guys that only charge $300 for a music video, and it's like, hey, I want to, do a rap video or something like that, but all these artists, they're like, no, I'm not paying you $800. I'm like, I'm the only guy who's actually. One time I told a guy, there's a battle rapper named Daylight, and there was another rap artist who was sort of in that network of those older rappers. And he's talking to me, and he's like, why do you want more than $250? And I'm like, dude, I am literally the only guy who owns an Ari camera and knows who Daylight is. Period. No one else. And so that's some I sort of like strive on, is to be the only guy in that tiny sliver of the Venn diagram.
Has that been hard to like get that like across the people in jobs with like explaining like what you offer is like a much higher level of like cinematography? Because I feel like that's a hard thing to get by to people.
It's a difficult sale at times. A lot of people don't get. The older guys get it, but the guys who never really, the younger guys like who've only hired people with DSLRs and no lights, like they don't understand. Like, yeah, $200 on a DSLR, yeah, sure. And here's the thing: I own a DSLR. I could go do that, but it's like I'm not going to waste $200 isn't worth my time of making something I can't put on a resume or put on a portfolio.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so
but I imagine the majority of people, if your career is anything like mine has been, it's just like you constantly have people who are coming up to you expecting to give you like $200 because that's what they have in their budget and what they expect they should have to pay for the work you're doing.
Yeah. No, That's what it is. But then, sometimes people will show up and they'll see, they'll see the whole lighting rig and the speed rail and everything that I set up. And they're like, oh, okay. They get it a little more. It's,
Do you ever get frustrated by the fact that you can't show that stuff off in the dubs that you're doing? Because I guess the dubs are more for the screenwriting aspect. That's like the one thing I guess you can't like really get through.
Screenwriting and audio.
And audio, okay.
That's big. Yeah. No, if I didn't have dubs, I would have never probably gotten as good at sound design as I am now. And I've gotten sound design contracts that paid over like $5,000 in a week.
Oh wow.
So it's sound design, and because in doing it, you build up your sound library because everything has a different sound, and so you assemble all these sci-fi effects and all these Foley effects and all these clothing movements and all this stuff. So I have like 100 gigabyte sound folder. And so when I get a sound design job, I am way more equipped than the next guy.
Do you like the fact that you had to like learn all these extra things? If your passion is cinematography, like would you rather just be focusing on that, or do you enjoy the fact that you've learned so many other aspects of the production that you have to like utilize for like work and stuff like that?
It's important to learn those other aspects because you don't want to seem wet behind the ears. If like let's say the main passion wasn't cinematography. It was just I guess film like Kevin Smith, Robert Rodriguez, just like filmmaking.
Yeah,
I guess. But I mean cinematography is important. But it's like it's good to learn all those things because who knows having a knowledge of cinematography what's that maybe that'll get you a meeting with somebody who gives you the opportunity for a feature. It's I don't know. I guess I'm glad that I know what I know. I wouldn't say I regret it. I wouldn't say like, oh man, I wish I just skipped to being a filmmaker. I'm glad that it didn't happen immediately. So now I can like come into the industry and I don't look like some ignorant shithead. Like I look like a guy who knows what he's doing.
Right, especially being young. I imagine that's very helpful.
Oh yeah, no, it's frustrating when you're in your mid-20s and you see a guy who's in his late 30s using daddy's money to like get up these set up these big extravagant little film festivals or shoots or whatever, and it's like they don't even understand like the qualities of hard versus soft light. They don't understand how to use a silk. They don't understand any of this, and they have a film degree. I never went to film school. Never went to film school. It was going out of my way. I would go on forums. I would talk to people. I would go out of my way. I'd say, hey, do you have a Skype? Hey, talk to me. I have this, and that question.
Did you go to college at all?
Like 3 classes.
Okay. I
have like 3 college credits.
Was it during college you realized there was a better opportunity for you? Or was it just like you weren't fit for college?
A little bit of both, maybe. It was fit for college. I mean, it's just I didn't want to do it. Like I did high school for 4 years. Like I don't want to do this again. Like and thank God I didn't because I realized that film school was a total fucking waste of money.
It is. It really is.
And so it's like, and I hate it. I hate this when the 50-year-old man comes in like, well, it was the best 4 years of my life. The economy was so fucking different when you were doing it, dude. The whole market was different when you were doing it.
Education was different back when he was doing it. Like what you were learning was totally different. The way it worked, the institution of like education, especially in film, was way different back then. But like, nowadays it's literally in front of your face. You can learn so much more by making YouTube videos and taking all the money you would spend on college towards those productions, rather than just getting a huge loan you have to pay over the next 50 years of your life for an education, for just knowledge, but it's not like hands-on knowledge.
Yeah, no. Oh my God. I don't know. Let's see. Again, they're using my video, so I guess I figured that out.
Well, yeah, I guess that's kind of a reason to go to college, is like you'll learn from some of the best, I suppose. But that's the thing. You didn't even go, and now they're using your information. Like somebody could just go on.
No, I wasn't saying that as like a means to defend college. I was saying it's a waste of money because that's a free YouTube video I made.
Right, exactly.
Like, yeah. Or how do I put it? No, this is what's really funny. Last month, I won my first award at a film festival for a short documentary.
Right, I saw that.
So now my title is Award-Winning Filmmaker Cited by Universities. And the best part about that is the comedy of they let somebody like me get that title.
Well, it's going to show you it's more about like your actual merit than it is anything about like where you went to school.
Right, but I mean, like, I own like 10 Christina Aguilera cutouts. Like, they let somebody like me do that. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. By the way, can I ask, what is that? Like, what is your fascinating with Christina Aguilera? I've been wondering that every single time you bring her up.
Okay, so it's the Aguileran religion, and the main doctrine of the Aguileran religion is that 19-year-old Christina Aguilera was the second coming of Jesus Christ in concept. It's an atheistic religion, essentially. And basically, the reason why I have this is because she is one of the only people in history to be racially redepicted. When you think about it, because check this out. I said this on another stream and it pissed a bunch of people off, but I'm like, nah, check this out.
I see it already. Okay, go on though. I want to hear the rest.
Okay, so check this out. So she gets on. So she was born with blonde hair and blue eyes. So when RCA gets her, they give her bluer contacts and dye her hair even blonder, right? So that's going on. So now she's like, okay, she's the Pop-Tart, she's the perfect white American singer, right?
Right.
So then they see Ricky oh my God, who is the
Martinez was his name?
Yeah, I think Ricky Martinez.
Martin. There you go.
Ricky Martin. Yeah, that is it. So they see "Living La Vida Loca" and they see the Latin music explosion of the late '90s. So they're like, hold on, So and keep in mind, when Aguilera first got signed, they wanted her to change her last name to be whiter.
Oh,
because this is the crazy thing, and this is why this is the impact of these stars is that the name Aguilera nobody really heard before her.
Right.
And so it's crazy how you can just domesticate a name just by being famous. And so they wanted her to change her name to something whiter, I think Aguilera Marie or something like that. And keep in mind, I've done so much research through Rolling Stone magazine, through biographies, unauthorized biographies, just so much different shit. And so they wanted her to be white. So then they saw the Latin music explosion through the, and then by 2000, they reinvented her. They took out the blue contacts. They gave her brown contacts. They sprayed on a tan. they put the darker hair extensions in, the red and black hair extensions, and they trained her. They media trained her to roll her R's, to do Christina Aguilera. Like they trained, like she would talk differently when she was accepting a Latin award versus an American award. They would have her pronounce her name differently, everything. And so and also think of how this would be viewed now. This would be viewed as the most racist thing. Like, oh my, this would be a call out post on Tumblr, like this would be, anyway. But it's just, there's just a fascination with that, where back when the label had so much power to just create Jesus, to just create fucking gods, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Britney Spears, they and that was all that. It wasn't like, oh, Christina Aguilera put a song on MySpace and blew up. MySpace didn't exist. Right,
exactly. No, that was back when they crafted like boy bands and stuff like that. They had like the bad boy, like the older guy, then like the main singer. Like everything was a matter of like what they were trying to design.
And so it was also kind of a safer time in entertainment, where it was a machine and a product being produced. It wasn't, hey guys, this is me, please completely annihilate me for public consumption. Like they would create an image, so that way, like, it was also just mentally safer that way.
So do you miss that time, or do you like where we're headed now?
No, I miss that time. Why the fuck would I tell millions of people my private life? Fuck that. Like, they don't, what social media, when I talk to Gen Zer kids, I'm like, why would you tell them that? Why would you post that? Why would you do any of that? I love fucking with the little hyper liberal Tumblr kids, because they always post little videos of them smoking weed and like just literally just bong rip on a camera, publicly uploaded for everybody to see. And I'm like, that's why I fuck with them. I'm like, that's a great example of your white privilege. And then they get really defensive. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you think anybody black can do that? The feds watch Instagram, dude. Like, so it's, oh my God.
Why are they posting? That's just what's interesting to them, is the post videos of them ripping bong hits. Like it's 2019. Yeah. Marijuana is legal almost in like half the country at this point. Yeah,
but they do it. They do it because they can, I guess. But it's like people in other cultures and other communities are like, hell no, don't do that. No, you're going to get fucking, no, they're going to use that in court if you get caught on some bullshit or whatever. And so,
so you're very much like, I'm going to make my art, but I'm not trying in any way to be like a celebrity or somebody who's like a character or an icon that people like pretend to know.
I I mean, I don't know. Again, like, let's say if I have pitch pilots circulating and stuff like that. But like, if I get, here's the thing, just the way I act, I'm eventually going to have to be a personality if something I do gets on like a major platform. Like the short I did, I was told that might be getting like screenings in Newark, like throughout New Jersey.
Okay.
And so, like, I don't know what that might lead to, but like, just the general way I am, like the personality is a part of the promotion. Okay. That's what a lot of people don't get. It was like that. It was always like that, 20 years ago. But now it's all this, be yourself. I'm not going to be myself. Fuck everybody. Like, no, you don't get any of me. Like, it's.
So when you're on promotion and you're like you said, the way that you act, you're still being genuine. You're not like hamming up a part, you're not playing a character anyway. Because I know some people, like, they obviously have a certain like presentation to give to other people to promote stuff, and other people just who they are.
It depends. It's a mixture of both. Like sometimes I'll play it up, sometimes I won't. Like when I say, here's the thing, it's weird. Like sometimes I'll make statements like, oh, I have the best production value on YouTube. And like, I'm just saying that to get, I'm just saying that to like get people like, rowdy and stuff like that. But then sometimes I'll sit back and I'll look and I'll like try to find videos with better production value than mine. And like, I can't find it. So,
So it's an accidental truth. It's like, I guess I was right about that. Actually, I was kind of hamming it up, but it's on point.
Yeah, I know. Like, oh my God. Because like I don't know anyone else who shoots on Ari. I don't know anyone else who records on Neumann all the time. I don't know anybody else who does these things. And so like when put it this way, like this is how serious, for that Taste Close feature, there were actors who didn't necessarily have the best equipment. I was mailing interfaces and Neumann mics. I was mailing everything out to North Carolina, to the United Kingdom, everywhere.
Shit. You were mailing out interfaces?
Yeah. Like I'd mail out like a $200 interface. I'd be like, hey, do you want this as the payment? They're like, yeah, sure. It's worth like a few hundred. Why not?
Yeah, and that's a great part of payment.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I was mailing that shit out, and that's something literally no one else does. I've talked to other people who do it. No one ever like thinks, okay, I'm just gonna send them the recording setup.
Totally. Well, it seems too generous, I'd imagine. Like you're literally giving them something that they could build a career off of. Like that's pretty much their own recording studio you're sending them.
I guess, yeah.
It's worth it, I guess, for the quality of the work. But how kind
of feels like indentured servitude, honestly. Go ahead.
on your side?
No, it feels like I don't know. It feels like I wouldn't say it's the most generous of things, because at the end of the day, they're not getting real money. They're just getting more opportunities to just do work for me. Then again, I guess they can go to other people.
But they could also just like, I mean, I guess I always look at it like, I always imagine, I'm idealistic, so I always imagine people like doing the most with the tools you give them. So I'm like, oh, they're going to start doing like, fucking audio books and like voiceover for other people, and they'll start a career that way. But you're probably right. They'll probably just keep it in the shelf in the corner and just wait for you to ask them to like record another voiceover.
Some of them use it. The first time I ever offered that, it was like a UX2 and an AT 2020 and all this stuff. First time I offered that, they were like confused. The person I was offering it to, they were like, wait, so you're like, they viewed it as extremely generous.
I think it is.
Well, thank you, but no, don't worry, I'm a scumbag anyway. So,
dude, you're selling them audio. You're giving them audio equipment. That is incredible. Like that's you're giving them tools they could create their own podcast with. Like that's a huge. I don't know. I think that's pretty incredible. That can be $200 worth of equipment you're sending somebody. That's pretty much a $200 check for doing voice work for a YouTube video.
Fine, I'll take the compliment. Okay, so so anyway,
it's kind of crazy. It is actually kind of nuts. Like that's kind of crazy. You're literally sending people the equipment to record when you could just like find somebody next door to you to like come into your place and just record the audio as well.
No, you can't. You can't find them. It's the whole network is all over the world. It's not local guys. I can't find some actress who can hit all my reads perfectly and have the right voice and the right accent. That's not an everyday thing.
So you do actually look for a certain type of voice for each person, and I
do it with people who have everything but the equipment. That's who I do it for.
Well, maybe you got to find people who have everything and the equipment, and you'll save yourself a good amount of money.
No, honestly, I kind of like the concept of this is what I like. This is what I like. This is why I'm a scumbag. Because what I like is I like finding really talented people without the equipment. So that way, when they get the equipment and they're getting more roles, I can say that I'm responsible for that success.
Okay, so you are a little ego driven. You're a little bit.
It's absolutely ego driven. And sometimes the ego drivenness is what sometimes it could benefit other people. But at the end of the day, I still gotta, I gotta go after mine. This shit, that's nothing compared to, now that I have money to throw around, that's what I do now. But I was doing crazy shit back when I was doing wild shit.
What were you doing back when you didn't have money? What were you?
Okay, so this was the hardest thing. Female voiceover with a good microphone was such a hard commodity to find. That was so impossible to find. So 2013. So this is for like the Yu Yu Hakusho dubs that aren't even up anymore because they got copyrighted and all that. I found a girl. Her name was Sam. And I've hired her for stuff since then. I've worked with her for years now. So keep in mind, so I'm 19, she's 16, she's still in high school. She has all these responsibilities, all that. So I'm like, but I really needed a voice, and she was the only one. She was from the Sims Machinima community. A lot of my early actors were from the Sims Machinima community. Did you even know that was real?
Oh, no, I did not know that was real.
Okay, well, the Sims Machinima community was a big fucking deal.
What was your connection to that community at the time? Like
I randomly found one guy. The guy. Have you ever seen the Cobain Theory?
No. What is that?
The Cobain Theory was a short film that I did. It's on YouTube. What's it called? It won like a dark comedy award at some film festival, and it's on YouTube. It's got like 30,000 hits, something like that. Okay, so not my best thing, but anyway, the guy in that, or the guy, or have you seen Shiru Uzumaki, or have you seen Chet Williams? Have you seen those?
I think Chet Williams, yeah.
Okay, so that guy. So he's from the Sims Machinima community. I randomly found him through just demo reels. So I met him. I'm like, hey, can you help me find like a female voiceover? And so he finds this girl, but she has all these responsibilities with high school and all that. And I really need it. I really, really need it. So this is what I did. I was like, okay, so can you show up? She's like, oh, I have this stuff and I have a video project to do and all this for school. And I'm like, okay, hold on. So you were going to do that over the weekend. Okay. During the week, I'm going to do your video project for you. I'll do all the editing. I'll do everything. You show up for a session. And she was like, okay. So I work on this project for a couple days. She hands me all the footage. I get it all ready. And then, so I wasn't sure how long this girl would stick around. So I wrote 4 scripts. Like all consecutively just to get her lines out of them. And it was an all day process. But I had 4 scripts because I didn't know if she would ever show up again.
Right.
So, so I just got up all these lines. And so that was when the hustle was at an all-time high. That's when I was working at my hardest. I have money now, so I don't need to do that as much. Still got to do it every now and then.
Yeah.
Or did you see? But you just go out of your way for that. You got to go out of your way for people sometimes when you don't have like money to just tell them, oh hey, go do this. Even if I had money, I don't think she'd be able to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then at the same time, you could just find someone else and buy them a $200 interface and just send it over to like Cuba and have them record it for you.
Yep, didn't have that money back then. No, it's amazing. Like this fucking mo money mo problems thing. Haven't experienced that yet. Money has gotten rid of.
Me neither. I know what you're talking about. I'm still waiting for the problems to get harder when I have money, but it gets me out of every other problem I have.
Yeah, I know. It's fucked up. Anyway, so the fucking. Oh my god. So anyway, let's see here. But yeah, so I was doing that, and I sent out the interfaces, and it's all good. But at the end of the day, I do that because there's a standard that I need to set.
That's good though.
The big thing with the Taste Closed feature here is that there's no microphones that stick out of place, because that's usually what you see with amateur or independently produced things is like one guy's microphone is fucking terrible.
Well, yeah, when we were talking earlier, I was kind of shocked when you said you had people from around like the country that you were recording for the movie, because I was like, wow, I guess you don't need, maybe I was crazy, like maybe you don't need the most amazing microphone to get good quality audio, because all the audio just sounds very succinct like in the film. But now I see what you did. You would just buy them the equipment that you needed them to use to make sure it was usable.
I did that for maybe like 2 or 3 people. I didn't do it for everybody. But that's still
a few people, dude. That's still like at least $600.
Because I guess, yeah, no, it's just, I mean, I got funding for it, may as well spend it.
Right.
What's it called? Because again, keep in mind, working on this has been my worst year financially too. I should let everyone know that, so that way they give me more money out of guilt. But it's like, like the thing, when I put that thing up, after a while, it took so long to get funded. I was just like, okay, I really just hope this doesn't get funded, and it's just like there forever. And then it got funded. See, here's the thing: it took a whole year for me to actually start producing from when it got funded, because it got funded spring 2018.
Okay.
And so spring 2018, and then so I had, what was I working on? Oh yeah, I was working on a pitch pilot. So I was working on that. I was like, okay, I got to do that. Then I got a sound design contract, and so that was like a lot more money than the fucking Taste Clothes feature. So so I did that. I got 2 sound design contracts actually. Okay, anyway. So I'm doing that, and then I was like, I wanted to work on my Christina Aguilera Religion tape. It's Not the 90s, the second one.
Yeah.
So I did all that. I was like, oh, I'll put it off till 2019. So. The promotion for It's Not the 90s pretty much ends. It's February 1st, 2019. I'm like, okay, let's start doing it. And so that's how that came to be. Did we get sidetracked on the Christina Aguilera thing?
I think we did actually. Well, let me. You pointed out how she was from the she's one of the last artists that people pretty much crafted to be who they wanted her to be.
Yeah, and so like there's all these things, and if you look at 2000 and everything, or It's Not the 90s, that's pretty much where I'm like laying down the gospel of it. Is I'm trying to oh my god, like I'm making all these like things, like there's the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. I made the image of the Reflejo and the X, as in the image was Genie in the bottle, the Reflejo was Spanish Christina that they try to market to South America, and then the X was X Tina on her second album, where she was done with all the pop star stuff, and she wanted to be her own thing. So, she was crucified by the media when she became X-Tina. So it's like all these like little like languages and words and all this stuff. And so you take all of that, and it's like, I guess that's like raw, like writing at the end of the day, is just trying to find biblical allusions and tying them into a pop star. I'm insane.
Well, most artists are. I wanted to ask you really quick, because I'm running out of time, but I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the humor that you use in your sketches. Mostly just like, What is your history with humor? Like, do you have any comedians that you find like inspiring? Like, what has been your comedic background throughout your life? Like, do you follow comedians? Or what comedies did you watch when you were younger and stuff like that?
What I find is that when you just start off, you just want to be completely influenced by yourself or just what you've seen in the world. And then as you progress, then you want to be influenced later on. So when I started off, I was just doing like the humor that I knew. Like I was just doing like, I knew how to be funny to people, not to a large audience, but I knew how to be funny to an extent without writing, without, really knowing any of that. So I understood stuff like that. So then then you start working at it. And then so you start like exploring, okay, what are you good at? What are you not good at? The channel is known for writing like right now. 2013, I was not a very impressive writer at all. 2012, no, I was not that great of a writer at all. I can't watch anything I made back then. The writing just isn't like that good. Yeah. Now it's all sharp. Now it's Groucho Marx, Rodney Dangerfield, and now it's like all those little word plays and word flips and all that stuff. And so, you come to learn that through, I guess, watching other comics and breaking down what made their jokes funny and understanding the fulcrum of a joke. So as far as like comedic influence, the Howard Stern Show is big, because the Howard Stern Show also just introduces people to the world of comics and like just sort of like a little bit of the business of comedy. And so they have comics on there. They have Artie Lang. And then as time went on, like I used to really like George Carlin, but then, I would go back and watch his stuff and it felt a little dated. Mm-hmm. But to me, and this might be a hot take, to me, the most timeless comedian is Rodney Dangerfield.
Okay, because of his like just his structured jokes that are just kind of like timeless. I mean, he was very good at writing street jokes. Yeah, he was very much just like it was just his set was just one-liners. It wasn't like this political like, oh well, this is how I feel, and oh man, my life was tough. Like it wasn't anything like that. It was like, laugh at me, and so Dangerfield, like again, he was the truest of true comedians. It was all wordplay, and then Groucho Marx is like an early example of that. But Groucho Marx isn't so much timeless just because of the era he was in. The variables in his jokes, we just don't know, so we don't get them now. Are there any comics like today, modern comics, that you find that you enjoy that you're a fan of?
Dave Chappelle's most recent special, I liked.
The Sticks
and Stones. Yeah, I like that because he's doing what true comics do. They create controversy. They get people talking.
Did you hear anything about the Shane Gillis thing by any chance, or is that something that's not?
Oh, yeah. I got a friend who keeps talking about it. Shane Gillis, he got the SNL gig, and then they found he was on a podcast, and he said a racial slur, and then they kicked him off, right?
Yeah, they fired him.
So what do you think about that?
Personally, I'll say first of all, I would love that to be my SNL career. That's like I'm judged by everyone in my circle as being the one guy who says that if he was offered a job at SNL, he wouldn't take it. And it's because I don't like the show and what it is nowadays. But that being said, I'm also a big fan of Shane Gillis, so I just kind of like, I think it was the best thing that could happen for him and the kind of jokes that he does.
Shane Gillis had a pretty good joke. It was he said his biggest mistake was taking a job the theater kids wanted. Great fucking joke. That's fantastic.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
He knows what he's doing. But again, like he's a bit of an older brand of comedy,
Right, and I think SNL was trying to bridge that gap. I think they were dipping their toes in the water to see if they could maybe bring that into their catalog of what they were creating.
Bring it back.
Well, yeah, bring it back, I guess. You're right, obviously. Yeah, but they're trying to finally bridge that gap again to get back to their old roots and also just to get that demographic. And I think they took a chance seeing let's see how this responds to the culture. And of course, as usual, people just respond with oh, well, we're going to go through his entire history, find what he said wrong and lambast him. There's okay, I guess we're not ready yet. But I think for him, it's the best thing that could happen because I always thought it was a great stand-up, and from what I can understand of SNL, it'll just pull you away from that job. You'll spend a whole week writing sketches, and he's a very good sketch writer. I've seen a few of them. He's actually very funny, but it's even better to be on SNL, get all the people who didn't know your name to know your name, have them fire you, and now you're just going back to doing what you're already doing, but you have more recognition. You're now the guy who was fired from SNL.
What's SNL pay? Don't they pay $10,000 a week or something?
It's $100,000 a year. Yeah, it's not particularly a lot for a New York lifestyle.
Or wait, it was $6,000 a year or $6,000 a week. Sorry.
Yeah,
something like that. The concept of guesting on SNL, doing it once, that'd be kind of fun. Or writing for SNL, that'd be cool. Performing for SNL as a cast member, no, that's just.
To me, it sounds like hell, honestly. Especially
it's absolutely
I don't
hell.
watch it very often, but every time I do watch a sketch, it just doesn't look anything like it did 20 years ago.
I would love to be in the writer's room in SNL. That'd be an awesome job.
Well, I don't know. I wonder what that looks like sometimes when I watch the sketches they've created.
Well, yeah, it's very producer controlled now because there's, I feel like the internet kind of ruined SNL because now they're so into okay, we need to do what this test screening approved of and all that. And it's sort of in trying to be more relatable, they ended up being less enjoyable for a lot of people. But look, it's going to keep going on. It doesn't. My opinion doesn't matter.
Well, I was surprised by how many people were speaking out, being SNL is too important to let somebody who might have a racist attitude onto the show. And I'm is it that important? Is it really still that big a deal? But apparently, I guess it's still an institution to a lot of people.
This is the big thing with a political message, and this is why it's important. With Yugi Coin, there are a lot of things that are considered, what's the college word? Problematic. That's the college word. So there are lines in there that are considered problematic, but me as the writer, I can be well, no, this is the whole point of it, and and if you're just gonna look at that, or if you're gonna disparage that, then you hate this group of people. So I always try to have a way to spin it on a hyper liberal guy who is one time I had a guy, he was oh, well, you had offensive things about Muslims and all that. I'm yeah, but that was all the bad guys saying that, that was all the bad characters saying that. And the whole point of the thing, it was trying to say that black people were from ancient Egypt. I'm hey, dude, you got a problem with that? You hate black people? Sorry, buddy. So you always gotta, I'm ready to flip that in anyone's face. No fucking problem. You want to go toe to toe with me on some racism shit? Okay. Here's the reality is that, oh my God, just this concept that if you're liberal, you're not racist is such bullshit. Everybody's racist.
Right.
It's just annoying.
I know. Have you ever written a joke for one of your videos that you're just I just don't, I can't put this out here because I just don't want to deal with whatever possible backlash I might get?
Oh yeah, tons. Are you kidding me? This is. Here's the thing. Here's the thing is that people want to, even the most liberal of comics, the most transgender liberal comics, joke writers, whoever. Okay, there will be a certain thing that they'll present, dude, they'll be the most vulgar fucking, they'll say crazy fucking like wild offensive shit all the fucking time, but like it's just the difference between the offensive comic and the non-offensive comic is that the non-offensive comic is smart enough to not fucking like put it out publicly. That's the only difference. Because if you have that filter, if you're operating with that filter where you're afraid to say something, you're not going to come out with the hitting shit.
Right. That's how I feel. Like if you're constantly holding back and you're not trying anything new and taking risks, you're never going to have something that's really potent.
Oh my God. Like there was this one joke where, well, this one isn't so much. There's one joke. I wanted a girl to say, what was the joke? Because I'm not going to be able to use this, so I may as well just say it now.
Okay.
I was like, okay. I told an actress, okay, say this. Say, I showed my mom how to masturbate with the Xbox controller, and I haven't seen that shit in like 2 months. And she refused to say that, so I couldn't use that joke.
Wait, so that's the only thing that really stopped it was that the actress refused to say it?
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, yeah, I know. And then she's like, I'm not saying that. And I'm like, and I went, fine, I'll use it in another video and it'll get tons of laughs. You know, I get like sarcastically spiteful sometimes. But yeah.
I wrote a sketch one time where basically, I forget the line exactly was, but basically she suggested she just had an abortion in the person's toilet and she would not say the fucking line. I was just like, it's so good though. She's like, I'm never gonna say that. And it would have been the best joke in the entire video. And just sometimes it gets taken away because an actress is afraid that it won't make sense.
That dating tips for incels video, I was at that film festival and I talked to somebody who was like an actress type. And I was like, hey, watch this video. And so she's watching, you know, the girl in the dating tips for incels. And she's like, oh, hey, you fucking losers. Like, get girls. Watching anime makes you a pedophile. All that shit. So she's saying all that. And then so this other actress girl's watching it. She's like, this is really good and really funny, but I can't be that mean. And I'm like, all right, fuck it.
Did people actually take that video seriously? Because I remember you posting some comments as if people were responding.
Yeah, tons of people took it seriously.
Yeah, that was so weird to me.
They like, how do you see all the colored lighting and the production value and the music and all this shit? How do you see all of that and think, oh yeah, this is just some girl making a vlog?
Yeah, I know. That was what's so crazy about me is that they actually thought some girls like, I got to help these incels out and tell them how it really is. And I was just like, that's crazy. Making anime references. I don't know. I was just very surprised when I saw that people.
She had 60 copies of the Yu-Gi-Oh card after genocide, and they're still like hanging on to this thing that she's like a real person. And so, oh my fucking God, it's ridiculous. And here's the thing, like that girl, like a bunch of people were like, oh, she's she's good. Where'd you find her? I'm like, I found her. You know, this isn't some girl who went to acting school or whatever, or Juilliard or whatever the fuck. I found her. You know,
how did you find her? Was it just like somebody within your circle, or was it like actual casting?
You ready for a story?
Yeah.
Okay, so this partly ties in with It's Not the 90s. So she's the girl on the It's Not the 90s cover praying to Christina Aguilera.
Yeah. So
this, and I'd said this on another thing, but I'll say it on yours, and we'll see where it blows up more. But
probably the other thing.
So essentially, so she grew up on the same street as me. I won't disclose that street, but she grew up on the same street as me. And I didn't know that at the time, but basically I needed a model. I couldn't just keep taking pictures of props. So I was like, okay, I need a parts model. I need a girl to be on the thing to like, you know, pray to it and all that. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something special. So I'm from the south end of the Beltway. I'm from DC area. Okay. And so I'm looking around. I'm on Motto Mayhem, like looking for people, and like, you know, like around Springfield, Virginia, or whatever. And I can't really find anybody. Then I'm asking, you know, girls I knew in high school. I'm like, hey, do we know anybody who models or does anything like that, or likes to be on camera or acts? And I was linked. I was linked like maybe 2 modeling Instagrams, and only one of them replied, and that was this girl. And so. So at first, and keep in mind, this area is not like a show business area. This, like, nobody thinks they're going to do anything extravagant in this area. Everybody thinks they're going to work a boring job and die for the rest of their lives. So I message her, and she's like, oh, hey. And I'm like, hey, can you show up for the shit? It's like, oh yeah, sure. That's a relief. Usually when people hit me up, they like ask to like have sex with me on camera or something like that. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So anyway, so she says yes. Keep in mind, okay. So she says yes to showing up for the parts modeling. Do you know what parts modeling is?
I can guess, but just want to explain it to me for the sake of making sure I understand.
It's like just hands and an eye, like not a full thing.
Right.
So parts modeling. So I'm like, hey, show up for this. So she says yes. Keep in mind, she said yes to me. Okay.
Okay.
So this is like December 20th that she says yes. So it's so now it's like December 26th. I'm sending texts. I'm sending messages. Hey, hey, what time's good? Blah blah blah. And, oh yeah, we agreed to do it in her house because she had space. Because I wasn't gonna get some random girl to come up to where I live. That wasn't gonna happen. So I had to go to her, which was fine. It was an adventure. I got to go back and see the old place. So basically, so I'm like, hey, what's up? What's going on? And this girl is like, she's like, oh, sorry, I can't do it. I commitments and all this stuff. And so I immediately saw through that being like a bullshit excuse of laziness.
Yeah.
And so what I proceeded to do, I was like, this is what I did. I sent her a text, $1,000. This is what I did. This is legit. You can ask her. If you ever find her, you can ask her, all this happened. $1,000. So she's like, who the fuck are you? You're freaking me out, dude. I'm like, give me a phone call, explain it. And then so she's like, oh, I don't know. And then so I had to keep sending text about like, this. And then, I need to do this like for the area because people go crazy when they see, you're not from DC, but like a lot of people from that area, like when they see a reference, because I'll put that in, they go crazy because they think that this is the most irrelevant part of America, even though it's like the most densely populated.
Right.
And so like the kids go fucking crazy when they see like, oh, I mentioned Lee Highway, or I say the H.H. Gregg that used to be a Circuit City, or I'll say all those things and people know those spots. So like in the Operation Backpackers thing, I had a phone number, okay, trivia for your thing. In Taste Clothes, remember when the guy got the answering machine message while he's robbing a house?
Yeah.
That was the address to a Dairy Queen in Ravensworth.
That's so funny. I was wondering what the address was too. I was like, that's got to be a reference to something from his actual life.
So anyway, yeah. So that was the local Dairy Queen that I had growing up.
Why do you remember the address of your local Dairy Queen?
You Google it,
but it's not there anymore, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, crazy, man! All my Dairy Queens disappeared.
Yeah, Warren Buffett's keeping them alive. Anyway, so all right, we got to get to the story because it gets crazier. Okay. So, I'm explaining her to, that's the importance of this. That's why it has to be her and not some random fuck in like New York or Pennsylvania or wherever. And so, and then at one point, so she's ignoring these texts. I mean, she's reading them, but she's leaving them on red. And at one point I said, name your price, I'll PayPal it up front. Now, the reason why I was so confident to say that was because I had just come off that big sound design contract.
Okay.
So I was like, there is no way she's going to say some amount of money that I don't have.
Yeah, right.
So like, anyway, so she's like, okay, now I'm interested. I'll give you a call. I was like, all right. So I call him up and I'm like, look, I know you've been surrounded by, because I'm from that area. I know you've been surrounded by ironic fucking white dude losers your entire fucking life. That's not me. I need to make this happen. And I'm going through all this shit. I'm like practically yelling. I'm like, you have to fucking do this. Like there's keep in mind, the only reason I'm saying this is because she said yes to me first.
Right.
And then the nerves of, oh, and now I have to actually do it. That's what was having her not do it.
Right.
And so I'm like, no, I'm gonna break through here. So I do it and I'm talking. She's like, okay, fine. When are we coming down? I'm like, I'll come down December 28th. So I go down, I drive down the next day. I drive by my old house. That was a trip. Cause it's on the same road. And so I pull up into her driveway and I text, I'm like, I'm here. And she's like, okay, I'll come out. And this girl, she's like 5 foot. She's like 5 foot even. She's real short, and I'm real tall, so that freaked her the fuck out. But so this tiny girl, she pops her head out from the driveway door. She's like, "What the fuck have I got myself into?" so anyway, because again, now knowing, because she's run into a lot of, like it's this Tinder culture where you run into a lot of scumbags and all this shit.
Yeah.
So everybody thinks that everybody's going to be a scumbag, and it's like, no, dude, I have a reputation here. Like, I don't have no Me Too's or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, in Los Angeles, that's very prevalent. I mean, you never, like, there's a lot of horror stories about people getting headshots in, like, someone's apartment. They want you to shower first. It's unfortunate, but it's very weird.
No, I didn't do anything like that.
Well, no, clearly. No, I know you didn't, obviously.
Okay. Yeah, because she came up here. Okay, anyway. So I'm talking to her. Or no, we get in, and so I bring in a backpack. I'm explaining the Christina Aguilera religion to her because that was the whole concept of the project. And so I'm in a backpack and I keep pulling out. I pull out the autographed Christina Aguilera trading card. I pull out MTV keychain. I pull out the NSYNC JC Chaz's marionette doll. I pull out all this stuff, and she's having fun. She's like laughing. She's like, oh, she's very engaged by this, but at the same time she says, like, you keep reaching into that backpack, and every time you pull something out, I think the next thing is going to be a gun. And I'm like, no, don't worry about it. So, and again, and the whole reason I did that was to tell this story, to just fucking have something to do. Also for just like the concept of meeting people and going back and re-exploring and everything. It's that. But it's like, like, dude, if I didn't do that, if I didn't have the balls to like fucking show up to this girl's house, and keep in mind, she has like she's had like trouble before because she has like an attack dog in the house.
Shit.
And, parents are sketchy or parents thought I was sketchy or whatever. But yeah, so anyway, but I go in there and I shot the first night, and then I went back and I got the rest of the shoot. And so she, but what's it called? But like I didn't do anything. I got
Right.
nothing. I shot on 35 millimeter film in a basement with wood panel walls, and so that was very aesthetic. A very aesthetic. I just said that. Okay. Anyway, so I do that, and but yeah, I left, and it was it was kind of weird because like you just barge into this person's life, and it's like, damn, I'm like the only legitimate business person like this girl knows.
Right.
And so it's like, it's fucked up to think that like we're in this world where just everybody's a fucking rapist but me, like, yeah, like.
Yeah, that's how it is.
I don't know. Like, it feels like the story she told me since then, I'm convinced every man on Tinder is a rapist. Just every man, period.
Well, there's a lot of aggressive dudes out there, that's for sure. Especially on Tinder.
So it's, but anyway. So yeah, and then, but then, I mean, evidently everything went okay because she came up for another shoot.
Well, about to say, how did that lead to the incel shoot? I guess you guys just had a good enough relationship that you realized you could use her for more things, or was there like?
Pretty much, because I knew. Yeah, no, I just
why like
she just had that vibe,
and you just wanted the story. That's why after she said yes and just jumped out of it, you were like you were determined to get her on the shoot just so you could like. Because you could have gotten someone else, right? It was for parts modeling. So, like, what made her so, like, essential?
Well, here's the thing. So, on her, and this has been taken down since then, on one of her pages of modeling or whatever, it just had her fucking, like, it didn't have her address, but it had pinpointed on what street she was at.
Oh, I see.
And so I saw that. I didn't let her know that. I told her what road I grew up on, and then she, put the pieces together. But I saw that, and then when I saw that she was on that road, I was like, it's her, nobody else.
I get it. Yeah, because there was
nobody else.
That was connection to your history. You just really want to see your old house. You just want an excuse to go out there. Did she actually give you a number for what she wanted? Did she actually end up giving you like a number?
I ended up paying her the original rate anyway.
But did she give you a number? I'm just really curious if she actually gave.
She never gave me a number.
That's so crazy. Because
she was so blindsided by this personality. Like she couldn't fucking handle it.
That's like, one hell of a bluff, man. I'm surprised he didn't call it. That's crazy.
Yeah. No. At one point. Well, here's the thing. Well, no. Well, actually, here's the thing. In that phone call, I was like, oh, so what do you want? Like 200, 250? She's like, yeah, 250. I'm like, okay. So I go down there and and I gave her royalties and she got free shirts and all this different stuff and all her friends like wearing the shirts with her face on it and all that. But yeah, like I don't know. I just need to embrace that I'm a crazy person, kind of like Michael Jackson did towards the end there.
Yeah, that's the association you want to make. I gotta admit, I'm like Michael Jackson.
That's awesome though. Check this out. This is why it's so important to like watch people who are the greatest at their craft, because you can just like see the mentalities evolve. So in the early 80s, Michael Jackson is talking to people. He's like, I'm not weird. I'm like everybody else. Don't be me. And then so in 93, the molestation allegations come up. And so he's fleeing all over Europe and all over every country because it's such a frenzy and he's like a freak. He's a pariah now. And so and this was great. In his music video, it was like a 40-minute music video for Ghosts. I don't know how much Michael Jackson you follow.
I used to follow a lot when I was younger, but I do not know Ghosts.
So it was Ghost or Ghost, I can't remember, but it was like 3 songs from his History album in one video. And so it starts, the whole premise of the music video is he's a guy who runs a haunted house and the town is coming in to tell him, hey, get out of our town. And the video starts, this was the most telling thing. And Michael Jackson has full creative control. He picks everything. The people are coming out with the torches and pitchforks, and they're walking out of the main part of the town. And the sign of the town is called Normalville. And so that is like fucking amazing to me. It's where this guy he's like, no, I'm not like everybody else. I am a fuck up. And like, and he understands that's what makes him great.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's so Michael Jackson was a cool fucking guy, dude. He commissioned The Last Supper redone with his face on it.
Where's that?
Look up Michael Jackson Last Supper, and on the right side, it's not like the Apostles. On the right side, it's great entertainers, Elvis, Walt Disney, Charlie Chaplin, and Little Richard.
Yeah. And
on the left side is great inventors and politicians, Thomas Edison, JFK, Abraham Lincoln.
Who's in the space where Judas is?
I don't know. I don't think it was like that deep.
Oh, okay.
But,
I don't know. I'm just curious.
It was just his influences on the left and right, and then him in the middle. And he hung that over his bed in Neverland.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so, like, but it's like this dude. Oh my god! But it's like, you know, you sort of start stepping into that mode where it's like, this guy created great shit, and this guy was beloved because he was so fucked up. And so it's like, you know, he put tape on his fingers. He wore, white socks with black shoes. Oh my God, it's just a million plastic surgeries. Fucking, he put a little armband around his arm as Smooth Criminal, and then he started doing that. He showed up in a million chains and buckles and all. Michael Jackson influenced all the anime of the 90s.
How do you, okay, that's a pretty bold statement. How do you figure that?
Okay, so every anime character in the 90s, or like a few of them, they all have these like leather belt buckles on every arm.
You think that came from Michael Jackson? I always thought it was the other way around.
Hell no. Michael Jackson went in Japan. He toured in Japan in 1988 for the Bad Tour.
Oh.
That was the biggest fucking deal to Japan. And then so all those manga artists, they were like, oh, I'm going to put belt buckles on the characters even though it doesn't make sense and all this shit. Fucking so many Yu-Gi-Oh characters are influenced. Look up the bad Michael Jackson tour outfits. No, like look up those outfits. All those belt buckles, all that leather, all that everything. All of that was like, that influenced anime.
I had no idea. I totally thought it was the other way around, because I know that Michael Jackson had like anime in like his later videos. Like I remember the Scream video had anime and stuff like that. So I knew he was aware of like that culture.
That was way later though.
But yeah, exactly. But I figured he was just, I always assumed it was just like he liked that culture. But it never occurred to me that like they saw him on tour and were just like, okay, Trigun's going to be all belt buckles now. Like I had no idea.
Yeah, to me it makes sense, because when the big pop stars go to those like other countries that don't speak English,
yeah,
like they've never seen production value that high,
right.
So it becomes like the big, like there's videos of him where he's touring in Munich in like 1992 or for like the Dangerous tour, and like there's people who are freaking out. They're getting like stretchered like away because they faint from like a panic attack of seeing Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like this guy was Jesus Christ before Christina Aguilera. Like, you know, like again, like, oh my God, he had a Jesus complex. He had lyrics in his music where he compared him to being crucified to the Lord and all that.
Well, he was about as powerful, I think, as an icon can get. I mean,
he was very powerful.
I would almost say more powerful than Elvis.
Oh, way more powerful than. Are you kidding me?
Only because he lived longer. I mean, if Elvis had lived even longer, I mean, then again, I don't. The guy was kind of.
Here's the thing: how international was Elvis's love, though?
I would only imagine. I only know of the American love. So yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, no.
Globally, he was hands down probably the most powerful person that I don't know that like celebrity wise that I think has ever lived.
Probably. I mean, he owned the Beatles catalog.
Right.
Oh my God, no, he was a. Oh my God. Anyway, but yeah, so, but I don't know. It's just the general weirdness is like, that's what's going to, that's what lets me know that what I was doing and going down to the house and doing all that crazy, again, I had no intentions of violence. I had no intentions of anything.
Yeah, well, that helps too. I mean, if you know that you're just doing something professionally and you're just creating a good story, both like as far as the making of the video and the video itself, it tends to just add to the production, I feel like.
You know, I feel like the girl, as she saw the lighting setup and all that, and she started seeing it was real, she started getting disappointed because maybe she wanted to die that day. But,
no, I'm sure she was getting more relieved, and that's what made her have such a great time. I'm sure after all the horrible experiences she's had and interactions and all the fear she had built up in her, just the fact that she ended up filming a fun video where she's playing with marionettes is like the best thing that could ever happen. I would be totally relieved. I would be down to make a video any day of the week with you after that. Although I'm kind of surprised you didn't take everything out of the book bag first. I think it's funny you kept on taking everything out one by one. At some point, you could just be like, "Let me show you everything that we're."
I had to explain it. as I went. You know, I had the. Oh my God! So many Christina Aguilera little mini CDs. And, oh my God!
I guess it still looks crazy from her perspective. Is you're this guy who desperately wants to create this Christina Aguilera video, and you're pulling out like trading cards and memorabilia. It was just pictures. Oh, it's pictures.
No video, just pictures. Yeah.
Well, but you're doing it for a video. She knew that, right? She knew you were taking the pictures for the video.
I get, or something like that. Like, this is what I had to tell her.
I told her only what she needed to know, and then I just made everything else happen.
Usually that's how it goes, but no. Here's the thing with that is that, you know, one thing when I gave her that call, I was like, you got to understand, like, I know you talk to a bunch of like loser artists, like loser local artists who try to hit on you, who don't have any real fan base and all that. I was like, 10,000 people are going to see this cover. This is a big fucking deal.
Well, dude, you definitely got the personality to succeed in Hollywood. That's for sure.
Thanks. Oh, thank God. Thank God this personality works for fucking something, right?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Is there anything else you want anybody to know about you, or anything else that like you would you wanted to share? Anything about Case Closed? Anything that people should know about finding you? What else did you want to cover as we wrap up here?
Well, what I'm going to be doing until it gets cleared on YouTube, just copyright thing, I will be uploading a song on my SoundCloud every day until it gets cleared on YouTube.
What is the process for getting cleared? Like, what has to happen? I didn't know that things...
You upload it, it gets blocked worldwide, then you submit a counterclaim for fair use, and boom.
You know this is going to happen?
I don't know for a fact.
But you're factoring it into the release stuff?
I gotta hope. I usually don't try counterclaiming, but this time I will because it's such a big project.
What are you going to do if it doesn't clear?
Fuck.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a downer. I'm genuinely curious.
This is what I try to do. This is what I'm trying to do. I will try to go to other popular YouTube people that I know, and I'm going to ask them, hey, can you upload this for me? Because they have protections when they're partnered that I don't.
Okay.
And so that's usually how you're able to keep like, you know, iffy stuff on YouTube is having a network backing you. So I'm gonna go to websites. I'm gonna be like, hey, I have a picture. I don't expect any money. If you make any money off of it, you can keep it. I don't give a shit.
Wow.
I want my work seen. Okay,
man, that's very legit. That's fucking real, dude. That's great.
Yeah, let me know if you know anybody.
This has been Just Erickson with SBN3. You know what? Actually, if you do have any trouble, hit me up, and I'll talk to the two people I know in YouTube that have connections.
What are their subscribers?
One of them is 2 million, and the other one is like a few 100,000.
Okay, yeah, that could work. Sure,
yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no. I was talking with a couple. I can't name anything because they'll get incriminated. But I was talking to a couple people with like millions, and they were like, "Oh, we want to do it, but like we're not ready because if we upload something with this standard of quality, then they're going to be expecting that for their other videos, and we don't want to do that." And I was like, "Okay."
Wait,
fine,
they're worried that your quality is going to make them have to reach a higher bar?
Yeah,
that's a great excuse.
I bust
You're
ass.
too good for our video, our channel.
Oh yeah, I've been told I'm too good a lot of times. I don't know. It's which is kind of fucked up. Like, why would you? How can anything be too good? You know?
Yeah. Well, when all you're trying to do is produce as much content as possible, that's when you don't care about lighting and quality, and you just want to make sure you keep on pushing it out. It's the fast food. I mean, for a guy who eats fast food so much, you should understand. Like, it's all about just the whole pushing it out and making sure there's people constantly consuming, rather than trying to make something that's actually good.
That's why I like doing music more now, because it's not so much that I want to be a musician. It's just that like, fucking, it's so much easier to produce and get out quicker.
Yeah.
That's why I like music now. That's why I try to like get a music following, so then I can just like fucking, it costs like barely anything to produce a song. It costs so much shit to produce a short.
Yeah. Well, if you could only pick one, would you rather just go the music route, or would you rather go the filming route?
If I'm getting funding, I'd rather do filming.
Okay. But if you had to do it all on your own, you just do the music?
At this point, yeah, but like, and you never know what music's going to lead to. Look at fucking Marky Mark. Fucking everybody forgets that Mark Wahlberg was Marky Mark, but hey, look at the doors that shit opened for him.
We don't forget. We just choose to ignore it. We just don't want to remember.
That too.
Well, dude, thanks a lot for doing this. I really appreciate this. And yeah, I'm looking forward to I've seen the feature, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens when it comes out. And if you ever need a voice, I'm definitely happy to do it myself as well.
Oh yeah, maybe we'll have you on Sober Radio if you have like a segment planned or something like that.
Sure, no problem, dude.
Well, anyway, thank you for taking the time, and thank you for your interest in the project.
No problem, dude. Take care.